This is the mattress. We have an issue. We're putting the pneumatic cooling air conditioners, the DC air conditioners, on the roofs of these mattresses. The 1,000 watt pneumatic cooling. It's a big thing. They don't make it anymore. Now they just offer the X2, the 3X, whatever they are, 2X. Anyway, that air conditioner, not that it's too heavy, the mattress, these roof ribs are not adequate. God help you if you roll this thing. It's really bad. There's a lot of give in this roof, right? These roof ribs are very thin, very small. So when we put our pneumatic cooling air conditioner up here, even though it's not heavy, it's lighter than the 120 volt units. There's way too much bounce and sag. No good. So we had to think long and hard. We have to solve this problem. We've got to strengthen this up to get that air conditioner to set up there safely for the duration of this camper van. We got the double batteries to accommodate the usage. So what I came up with is I got some 1-inch square tubing, 1/8 inch wall, 1 inch by 1 inch aluminum tubing. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to run this tubing across the van, right underneath my cutout, from one side to the other. And then we're going to support it on the sides. Transfer that weight down to the side of the chassis, which is far stronger than this, okay? So I got to work. I'm working on my angles. I'm working on my height. So I came up with this piece, okay? This is going to fit left to right. And what I did is I just kept cutting stacks of 1 inch, 1 inch, and then as it turns out, a piece of 3/4 inch plywood on top. When I run this thing right up where I want it, it lays right on the sheet metal of the roof. It's magnificent. So, okay, that's proof of concept. I can get this thing to work, right? It's a tight fit up there. You have to cut the angles to accommodate the shape of the chassis here, the body. So I got my stack, I tape it together, I worked on it. The next step, okay, I'm making 2 of these. I'm going to run them on either side of the cutout, 14-inch standard opening in the ceiling. So basically what I'm doing is I'm adding 2 more roof ribs, and I'm putting them in directly under the load-bearing portion of the air conditioner. So I had my taped assembly. This was my test piece, right? So then I took it a step further. It's the very same assembly, but I took some flat stock, some 2-inch by 1/8 inch flat stock. And now I glued, construction adhesive, glued and screwed the whole thing together. Now with this flat stock on both sides, see that? Screwed, glued and screwed. This is a truss. This is a gutsy truss, and it's aluminum, so it's light. But there's very little distortion, very little flex in this baby. So this is going to set right here, right underneath the weight of that air conditioner. Magnificent. Transferring the load down to the side walls. Now, the next step, how are we going to support that load on the side walls? Right? How do we do this now? We run this all the way into the side. There's plenty of meat on that side panel there. Do we put an elbow? Do we put a gusset? Well, let's think a few steps further down the road in this van build. So what we're going to do is we get a piece of Pluma ply. This is like an MDO plywood with a nice paper finish on it. It's waterproof. And we put a 3/4 inch aluminum C-channel on top. See that C-channel? Why did we do that? Because going down the road with that bouncing that's going to occur, right? We don't want our aluminum truss, that big girder of a truss, we don't want that collapsing just plywood. It can crush it over time. It can collapse it. So that's why we put this C-channel on the plywood edge. Now our trusses will rest on here. And we've spread that load, that vibration load, across the entire length of our MDO, our plume apply. So now this is going to get plus nutted all the way up down the line on each side of the van. So what that'll do, we're going to plus nut it all the way down. This supports our 2 extra trusses we added, and it also will be our pickup nailer for the shelf that's going to go over the galley. So now when it comes time to put that shelf in, this is buried behind our vinyl wrap wall. So all we have to do is put that shelf where we want it and boom, 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 tag it in. There's no searching for holes. There's no trying to line anything up. This is a similar trick you do when you're hanging wall cabinets in the kitchen of your residence. You would put some kind of pickup nailers on the studs, right, between the studs. And when you hang that wall cabinet, you can just bang it right in. So that was a problem in this mattress that we thought long and hard about. One of the other approaches we were taking was, let's span these ribs up on the roof with a big, rigid, flat something, kind of like the gaskets you use to put a fan on the roof. So we were going to span these roof ribs and spread that load up here until we got the air conditioner up there, and we saw what happens to these roof ribs. These are not adequate. No way. So we had to make our own. This thing's a beauty. Look at this. There's no deflection. This thing is strong. It's like building a bridge. Couple of tricks here for wiring up an inverter, particularly the Xantrex SC Pro 3000. I put these in the mini-me's and the Metris, so I wire up a lot of these guys. So the first thing you're going to do, because they expect you to run these wires in from your wire nut right into the wire clip. It's a short distance. It's not easy. So the first thing I do is I get a little piece of scrap wire. Okay, scrap wire. See that? I got a whole wall of scrap wire. I'm sure you could find a piece of scrap wire. What you do is you put it into the hole as far as it'll go and put a Sharpie mark on it. Now, you're not going to strip to that Sharpie mark because that would leave some wire exposed. So you're going to strip just ahead of it, so you have a little bit less exposure on the wire. Now when you stick that in, you can see all the way in, there's no exposed wire. You've got insulation going into the box. Okay? See, Sharpie mark. I don't know if you can see it on that camera, but I got 2 cameras going here. All right, so the next step, if you look inside, it says neutral, ground, and load. So orientate your wires just that way, neutral, ground, and load, right? You take your wire nut, your strain relief, and you put it on like this, and then you just get it out of the way. You're not going to use it right now. Get it out of the way. Then bring this in through here, put the other side of the strain relief, the nut, a threaded nut. Don't do anything with it. Just put it on there. I'm going to put this here to get it out of the way. Now you can strip your wires, okay, based on your little test piece. You know basically where you're going to be. This is how I do it. I take a look-see. You can always trim a little bit more off if you have to. Okay. I trim them all at once. You have to be careful with stranded wire. You know, eyeball it. You can always make your corrective cuts after they're stripped. Okay? Now, if you notice, these wires are much longer than what I need to get from here to here, right? Well, there's a reason for that. So let me show you. Remember, you got your wire nut down here, right? You didn't do anything with it. It's there. And the other part's out here. So now you get a piece of needle nose, a pair of needle nose pliers. Make sure that your strands are nice and tight. With all this extra wire, you bend the wire and you let the needle nose do all the talking. See how easy this was? I got that whole thing in there without any effort at all. Not one strand can be errant outside of the clip. Not one. But did you see how easy that was? And look, I've got some extra wire here that I can tuck away in case I need it in the future. So now we take the next wire, which is the ground. Pay attention to your load and your neutral and your ground, okay? You grab it and you give it a little bend and you let those pliers guide you in, needle nose. You've got a lot of control with those needle nose. Knock the next one down. Okay, now you go to the third one, which is your load, your black wire. See what I'm doing here? Huh? Bring that in, make a turn, and it goes right in. Now, you've got another set to do. This was AC in. Do the same thing with AC out. When you've got them all where you need them and you're happy, now you bring your strain relief clamp up into position and you can thread it on and be done with this job. So I've got this 80-20 framework here. It's going to serve two purposes. I'm coming off of these side rails, part of the bed system. This end of the bed system is very, very sturdy because it holds our two batteries in place. We've got a nice little box perimeter that holds it to the floor. It can't slide anywhere. But these pieces here, once they're all connected, is going to prevent the battery from jumping up, right? At the same time, I'm going to use it as a little tiny distribution panel for fuses, for positives. It's a couple of small little lines that aren't coming off the galley. So I always like to put a little small block in the area here. So I can just run power right from here, ground it. You get the idea. Now, the point of this video is this. I have to make these connections, okay? I've got to put little elbows, corner brackets right here, all right? Now, I can slide my T-nut on the end of this one because it's not captivated, but this one's captivated, okay? Meaning I can't slide a T-nut in from either end. And what makes this one even more diabolical is that I need to use a roll-in T-nut. Can you see that? A roll-in T-nut. How about here? Yeah, roll-in T-nut. Okay, if I put this in there and I don't want it to slide all the way down, it's going to slide all the way down. You know that. This battery's locked in right up against this channel. If this T-nut were to go in and slide down, it's stainless steel. I'll never get it out. I couldn't use a magnet. I'll never get it out, and it'll rattle. So, when you're faced with a situation like this, okay, the first thing you do is you get some of this rope caulk. I'm showing you on both cameras, rope caulk. And you get a pair of scissors. You get a pair of scissors and you cut a little piece off. Okay? A little piece of rope caulk over here. A little piece of rope caulk. Boy, that iPhone is so much nicer than my Sony. You put the rope caulk in here. Okay, you get it in there nice and tight. And you get it to a point where you get the idea now, right? Now, when I put my T-nut in here, it's not going to fall down. These little rolling T-nuts are a joke. There you go. They got a little ball bearing that does nothing. Okay, now you see that? Now I can screw my corner bracket right in place, and I don't worry about that T-nut falling down. So once you get a bite on that drop-in, then you can come in with a pair of needle nose underneath and pull out your foam. Use it again. That's this quick tip.